Hello everyone, we are going to tackle about the ecosystems. What is an ecosystem? An ecosystem is a community of living things that interact with each other and with the physical world. The plants and animals with each ecosystem interact with each other and the non-living elements of the ecosystem like climate, precipitation, and soil. An ecosystem can be very small such as a puddle or under a rock. It can also be as big as an ocean or a desert. The balance of an ecosystem is important. All things must work together to provide a good living environment. For example, if there is not enough water, plants and animals will die and the ecosystem will not exist. Ecosystem is a community of organisms that their physical environment interacting together. Here are some examples of the ecosystems. The first one is the desert, second is the Arctic tundra, third is the rainforest, fourth is the ocean, fifth is the African savanna, and the last one is the swamp. Producers is a living thing that can make its own food. The main energy source of the producers is the sunlight. The producers, also called autotrophs, it is used light and chemical energy to make food. And also here are some examples of the producers. The plants, trees, and flowers. Consumers is a living thing that gets its food from eating other living things. It is an organisms that rely on other organisms for their energy and food supply. Consumers, also called heterotrophs. Here are some examples of the consumer. The polar bear eating a fish, a bird eating a berry, a zebra eating grass. Decomposer is a living thing that breaks down other living things to get nutrients and energy. Examples: the vultures eat dead animals, worms and beetles eat dead decaying plants. The population is a group of living things that live in the same place at the same time. So here are some examples of the population. Many penguins live in the Arctic, many elephants live in the African savanna. Community is when different populations live together in the same habitat and interact with each other. So as we can see in the picture, here is some example of the community. The elephants, giraffes, and zebras all live together in the savanna. Abiotic is any non-living organisms in an ecosystem. Abiotic is a non-living factors that influence an ecosystem. Biotic is any living organisms in an ecosystem. It is living factors that influence an ecosystem. Food chain shows what eats what in an ecosystem. It is a series of steps in which organisms transfer energy by eating and being eaten. Arrows go in the direction of how energy is transferred. It is start with producers and end with top consumers or the carnivore. So here are some example of the food chain. So you can see in the picture. The food chain of an owl. The producer of the food chain of an owl is the plants, and the carnivore or the consumer is the owl. Food web is a food web consists of all the food chains within a particular ecosystem. So as we can see in the picture, there are two examples of the food web. Here are atrophic levels each step in a food chain or food web. The level 1 is the producers, or we also called autotrophs. The level 2 is the primary consumer or the herbivores. Level 3 is the secondary consumers or the carnivores or omnivores, and the level 4 is the tertiary consumers, also called a carnivore. Usually top carnivores, for example, is the human. And that's all. Thank you for listening.